Divorce TV with Wally Marcus. Divorce Mediation with attorney Marie Picaretta and Dr. Mary G. Marcus. Support for Divorce TV is made possible in part by funding from the Center for Divorce Mediation 577-1202. If you would like more information about our guests Mary Marcus and Marie Picaretta, you'll see information concerning their websites and their telephone numbers on the screen. Welcome to my guests again today, Marie Picaretta and Dr. Mary Marcus, attorney Marie Picaretta and Dr. Mary Marcus. We're going to be talking a little bit today about divorce mediation, but first can you tell us a little bit about yourselves and your background? Not too long, but a little bit short so the audience can get a sense of who you are.
I am a psychologist mediator, and I've been mediating since about 1994, and think it's a wonderful process to help families during a very, very difficult time. And I'm eager to share what I've learned over the years with you today.
Marie, how about you?
I'm an attorney, and I have been a mediator for over 15 years, and my practice is primarily divorce mediation, but also some other types of mediation also, and I find it an excellent alternative for people in disputes.
I know a lot of people here aren't really going to be that familiar with what the different types of divorces are, so maybe we can give them a little quick overview of what the different types of way people can get divorced are in Arizona. Jump right in. Which is different. I mean, mediation is clearly one way of doing it, but are there other ways of doing it so we sort of put things in perspective for people?
Sure. I mean, there's the so-called traditional model in which people get an attorney for each of them, and the attorneys negotiate amongst themselves and come up with some kind of settlement that the couple then abides by. There also is a relatively new format called collaborative law, in which each party has an attorney, and the attorneys and the parties meet in four-way conferences to try to hammer out the details of an agreement. This is much more like mediation in that the parties have agreed that they are going to try to settle this outside of court, and the attorneys are there to advise and to help in problem solving, but it's not the adversarial model that traditional divorce might be.
We're going to, by the way, talk about in future episodes of the show, we're going to be talking a little bit about lots of different topics, including a more detailed program on collaborative divorce and on adversary divorce. We have some excellent guests in that program as well. Maybe, Marie, you can give us a little bit of sense of what mediation's a little bit like also, and also, if you can, you know, some personal examples which would help people sort of relate to.
Well, I think that the type of divorce that most people think of is the type where you go to court and your lawyers are with you and a judge tells you what to do, and you hope for the best, and your lawyer does their best, but in the end the judge makes the decision for you. Or for your family, or concerning your children. And in the mediation model, you make the decisions for yourself. And that's one of I think, the most important and most valuable differences between mediating a case and litigating a case.
Would that be one reason why people might choose mediation?
I think it is definitely a reason that people choose mediation, because they are experts in their family and their children, and they want to make the decisions about them.
Can you give us some other examples why people might choose mediation, why it's appropriate for them?
Well, I think the clearest reason why people often choose mediation, and probably not the best reason to choose mediation, is cost. That in mediation you use one mediator as opposed to two attorneys, and so you're already reducing the cost in half just by merely choosing the mediation model. But I think that is not the best reason to choose mediation, because people should be in a mediation because they think that sitting down and crafting an agreement with their spouse is best for their family. And I think one of the reasons that mediation ends up working so well for people is that since they've reached the agreement themselves, they're much more likely to be willing to carry that agreement out. And research actually has shown that agreements that are crafted through mediation result in less post-judgment actions than divorces that have been litigated.
Do you find there's a difference like in the anger level between people who do mediation and people who don't do mediation?
I'm not very best person to answer that, because you know what? I don't ever have any clients who don't mediate. But I can say that the cost issue that Mary brought up is really, I think, an important issue, because it's not just the financial cost. It's every cost of litigating and being in that adversarial process, including the anger level. And that's a cost. It's an emotional cost. The other is the amount of time. You know, mediation is traditionally an expeditious process, and people are in there working hard to resolve the dispute, and the time frame is considerably shorter than a litigated divorce. So it's all of the sort of intangible costs, not just the amount of money that you might be saving, that are all part of why I think people do have less anger and are very pleased with the mediation, process and also the result.
I think you were saying too that there's a post-judgment cost as well. That
right. The
tell me more about
dollars
that?
cost of going back to court is enormous, plus the fact that people can't get on with their lives. And so they're in limbo that much longer. And I think that's one of the wonderful things about mediation, especially as far as children go, that the longer a divorce continues, the more damage there is to children's well-being, because not only are children often in the middle in divorces, but if their parent is upset, children aren't going to get the attention that they need. And so when you have these litigated cases that drag on for months and even years, children are really being neglected, not intentionally obviously, but their needs have to take second place because there's so much emotional energy and financial resources that get invested in the litigation.
Very good. Can you tell us a little bit how somebody would go about choosing a mediator?
Well, I think the best way to choose a mediator is to talk to your friends who perhaps have been divorced and have been pleased with the mediator they chose. If you don't know anybody who's been a part of the process, there is an organization that many mediators belong to called the Association for Conflict Resolution, which has a website that is called acrnet.org that lists mediators as advanced practitioner members. And those are people who have specialized training and experience in family mediation. And so that's a wonderful way of locating a mediator who has the experience and training that anyone should look for. I think also it's a good idea to interview potential mediators who you might consider working with, to see whether your personalities are compatible and to see whether their approach is compatible with what the clients are looking for.
By the way, at the bottom of the screen you'll see our website, and that has links to some of the further information about our guests, as well as telling you how you can get some additional information about us. And also you can always email us and ask questions if you want, if you didn't be able to write down quickly what Mary was saying at that one. What are some of the qualifications to be a mediator?
Well, in Arizona, there aren't any qualifications to be a mediator that are set by the state, but that doesn't mean there aren't qualifications. Mediators have a lot of training. They have specialized training in their field, and some of them have hundreds of hours of training, and they also have a lot of experience. Mediation is like anything else. The more you do it, the better you get at it. It's just like hiring a plastic surgeon. You're not going to hire somebody for their first facelift probably, but you're going to ask how many they've done. And mediation is similar to that. You want to talk to someone about their experience and how many cases they mediate, and whether most of their practice involves mediation or whether it's just a sideline to something else that they do.
I think those are all good thoughts. And in Arizona,